Have you ever really thought about how a single story can literally change the world? Today, we're diving into Chinua Achebe's masterpiece, Things Fall Apart. But we're not just looking at it as a great piece of fiction. Nope, we're going to see it as a straight-up historical force. To do that, we're going to use this really powerful lens called New Historicism. So let's explore how one novel didn't just tell history, it actively rewrote it. For centuries. Just think about that. For centuries, the story of an entire continent was basically told by just one group of people. You had the explorers, the colonial administrators, the missionaries. You get the picture. And let's be real, this story wasn't some neutral historical account. No way. It was a tool, a powerful one, built to make things like colonial rule seem, well, justified. And the words they used? Oh, they were incredibly specific and pretty dehumanizing. You see these words pop up again and again in colonial records. Primitive, chaotic, cultureless. Now, this wasn't just them taking notes, It was a justification. I mean, if you believe a place is chaotic and has no real culture, then it's a very short step to believing it needs you to come in and civilize it, right? But what if that whole story was just wrong? Not just a little biased, but completely fundamentally wrong. What if it was all just a story told on purpose to maintain power? And what if the real story was still out there, just buried under all that noise? All right, so this is where a book becomes more than just a book. It becomes an act of defiance, a cultural intervention. This is the story of how literature decided to fight back. So in 1958, right as all these independence movements are starting to bubble up across Africa, this novel drops, and it is an absolute bombshell. For the first time, really on a global stage, people were getting a look at a pre-colonial African society from the inside out, told with depth, with complexity, with real humanity, and, crucially, by someone who was actually from that culture. And see, Achebe was brilliant, because he didn't just tell you Igbo society was organized, he showed you. Take the Egwugu court, for example. This wasn't some kind of primitive justice. It's this complex, sophisticated system for handling disputes, all based on tradition and community. This one example completely demolishes that colonial idea of chaos.
Okay, so to really get the genius of what Achebe did, we need a special kind of key, and that key is a way of looking at literature called New Historicism. Let's break down what that actually means.
All right, so the big idea here is that a book isn't just some story floating around in a vacuum. A new historicist looks at it like an artifact. It's totally tangled up in the power struggles, the culture, the politics of its time. Think of it like a fossil. It doesn't just tell you about the creature, it tells you about the entire world that creature lived in. So a book isn't just reflecting history, it's actually a part of it. And this right here, this is the core of it all. Literature isn't a passive mirror just showing what happened. It's an active force. It can prop up the stories the people in power want to tell. Or, like Things Fall Apart, it can punch a hole right through them and totally change how we see the past. Okay, so let's use our new key. Let's put on our new historicist glasses and see how this approach totally unlocks the revolutionary power of Things Fall Apart. Okay, this is just one of the most powerful gut punch moments in all of literature. I mean, think about it. We, the readers, have just witnessed this incredibly rich culture, all this personal tragedy, the complete collapse of a society, and the British commissioner is going to write a book about it and boil it all down to that title? It's so arrogant. And in that one sentence, Achebe just perfectly shows you, this is how the victors write history. And that's the central question, isn't it? Who gets to write the story? Because that's the real power. The commissioner thinks it's him. He thinks he has the final word. But Achebe, by writing this very novel, basically grabs the pen out of his hand and says, no, we'll tell our story. Achebe is so masterful here. He shows that colonization wasn't just about armies and guns. It was an invasion of ideas, of culture. And there was a pattern to it, a playbook almost. Step 1, the missionaries arrive. You start to chip away at people's beliefs. Step 2, you undermine their traditions. And once you've created that division, that weakness, well, step 3, political control, becomes a whole lot easier. And you can see this clash so clearly when you look at their legal systems. The colonial government doesn't try to blend in or integrate. No, it's a total replacement. They dismantle the existing power structure, they throw the local leaders in jail, they impose their own courts. They're not just changing the rules of the game, they're breaking the whole game board. Now, what makes Achebe's version of history so powerful is that he's completely honest. He's not painting some picture of a perfect, lost paradise. Not at all. He shows us the flaws, the internal problems in Igbo society, like its strict patriarchy, or really brutal acts like the killing of Ikamafuna. And by doing that, by showing the good and the bad, he makes it real. That's the key. He's not just swapping one simple myth for another, he's replacing a cartoon caricature with a real, complicated human society.
And this is where literature gets really epic. The story of our main character, Okonkwo. His personal downfall isn't just about him. His tragedy, his struggle to adapt, it's a perfect mirror for the tragedy of his entire society as it's being torn apart. He's not just a character, he embodies a whole era coming to a violent end.
So, we've seen how the novel was a product of its time, but now let's talk about the flip side. What was its real-world impact? How did the story actually go on to shape history?
Just look at this timing. It's incredible. The book comes out in 1958. And what happens in the 1960s? A massive wave of African independence movements. It's not a coincidence. The book didn't just capture the feeling in the air, it helped fuel the arguments for independence. And fast forward to today, you literally can't study colonialism anywhere in the world without reading Things Fall Apart.
So, yeah, the legacy is just monumental. It gave a voice to people who had been silenced for centuries. It reshaped how the entire world understood colonialism. It stood up and challenged the idea that great literature had to be Western. And more than anything, it proved, without a doubt, that a story can be one of the most powerful historical forces there is.
And that really leaves us with a big question to chew on, right? Achebe proved that whoever holds the pen holds an incredible amount of power. So it makes you think, who's telling the stories of our time? What are the official stories we hear every day, and which ones are being pushed to the side? Because those stories are absolutely shaping the history that we're living through right now.